feels like that's like his doghouse.
That's cute.
It's cute. So what I do now is that I leave his little sabana on the floor, so like when he lays in there, he has something to lay on. So he likes to like kind of like smell the clothes and like smell, because when we're not home, it like makes him feel.
Aww.
I've actually learned that dogs feel more comfortable when they can smell your scent when you're
really.
not home.
I might have to tell my mom to do that.
Yeah. So like let's say your mom is and your dad are gonna go on vacation and someone's gonna babysit Lola, to leave like a dirty T-shirt makes them feel less anxious about the fact that you're not around, and they don't feel abandoned.
I like that idea. And you know what? My parents actually, because the thunderstorms have been happening lately, they've been getting very stressed about leaving her by herself. So maybe that's a good idea, because the other day when I was here and it was thunderstorming and she was in my room, she was trying to climb over me to go over the overhead to hide. She wants to be against the wall under the bed. Right? Like,
and they like shake.
She wants to be in the middle of, like, in between something, and she shakes. And I couldn't sleep. I didn't sleep at all.
It scares me because I heard recently that someone told me that dog passed away from a heart attack from
the thunderstorms. Man,
that scared the hell out of me.
That's
I was
scary.
like, that's scary because we live in a place that happens a lot.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen a little
and you
bit.
live in this in a building like this probably shakes more often.
Well, thankfully it doesn't. But however, it feels like more real because we're higher up.
Oh.
So it's like you can kind of, like, especially in this area, because there's nothing else obstructing the view. So it's like you feel like the lightning is like in your
on
room.
you,
Me and Marley met.
You did your class.
I want to say about maybe 11, 12 years ago at this point.
It has to be.
I
don't even know how.
Because of Stephania.
Yes.
It was because of Stephania we met, and like you went to high school with a lot of people I'm friends with.
You were already friends with them,
right?
And me being friends with them from high school,
right. And
true.
since I had a friendship with Stephanie and you had a friendship with her, like it was kind of like we probably went to the same event or location.
Something happens. No, I probably went to a house party at the condo you guys had.
Maybe.
Or one of the apartments.
One of our house parties.
With a DJ and everything. How did you manage to fit a DJ and hunt like 40 people into a tiny 2-bedroom apartment?
The good old days.
With like ginormous ass speakers that Jason
big ass speakers, like
Jason
speakers.
has speakers and would bring those in, and it'd just be a house party, and I'd be like, what are we doing? This is someone's apartment. Because we just need a party.
Yes.
So that's what that was. I think that might have been one of them.
That may have been one of the events. It was fun back then.
We were more careless, I think, in a sense. Because now, would you have a house party like that in your apartment?
I don't think I have the space because I live in Miami. So, since I live in modern day Miami condos, like the space doesn't exist. Like it's like any city. Like you pay for your square footage and whatever. But I probably wouldn't do that now because I don't want to get kicked out of my residence.
Yeah, because where you lived at before, the Mexicans were having their own parties.
Oh my God, you did bring it back. They were having their own parties.
That was the second condo.
Right.
Because the other one was somewhere else. I remember.
The other one was, that was when I was going through like real humble times. Shout out to Gabby.
Real humble times.
Shout out to Gabby.
Yes, because Gabby
she was my roommate at that time.
Yeah.
And at that time,
it was before
we were very young. I think I was probably 21 years old and she was probably 19.
Yeah.
And we were living together in a place that we were sleeping on mattresses on the floor. We had no furniture. We had no couches.
That's why the house party worked out, because there was no furniture.
Right.
I remember
people thought that we cleared it.
No.
There was no clearing it. Like we had no furniture. And we used to eat rice and like cabbage.
But y'all always had drinks.
Always had drinks in plastic bottles of vodka. Because when the bottle is plastic, it's about $8.99 for this vodka. You feel me? So that's how you know. So we was just going through like a very humble beginning. And I always appreciate that time in my life because I feel like it really molded me to be a very hard worker. So when I was doing that and like I'm gonna be honest, we actually had like a really bad rat problem in that building. And that's the reason why we ended up leaving, because when we would sleep at night, because we lived on the top floor of this, like, I think it was like a 5th-floor or 4th-floor type of building. It was like a walk up. You know how Florida is for those of you who live up here. Like, you have like the outdoor staircase and then you go upstairs and like whatever. And it was the older kind of condominiums that people bought and then they were renting it out. So there was rats.
Oh my God, I didn't know
And
that.
I would sleep at night on my mattress on the floor, and I would hear rats just gnawing at the fucking ceiling while I was sleeping.
That's gross.
And it would just fucking terrify me. I'm like, I cannot live my life like this. Like, I am better than this. Like, I understand that I'm from the Bronx, but damn, you feel me? Like, no way.
My mama didn't put me out.
No, I didn't have to deal with that. So it was like, it was different, and it's like it was just, that's what we could afford at the time. We was paying $500 each. So it was like, come on. Where can I live right now?
For $500 each. For $500 a month, I wish that would be it. We all have our first humble kind of spaces. I mean, I had mine too. Like, where you were like legit eating some ramen noodles and putting some cheese on that shit to make it something.
I've never put cheese on a ramen noodle.
You've never tried that before? Yeah.
What kind of cheese?
Whatever cheese you did have. Turn that bitch into a mac and cheese. Your ramen noodles. Nice. The person I lived with used to do that often. And so that's what you just had. Because that's it, like humble beginnings.
When you're poor.
When you're poor.
When you're poor.
When you're poor. When you're poor. When you thought you were big and grown and can be on your own.
Like, I don't need to live with you no more, man. I'm good.
This.
Right.
And then you'd be like, you ain't ate in like 4 days properly. Yeah.
And then you fucking gain weight because you're eating all this salt.
all this sodium.
Fucking cheap food. America, why does cheap food have to be so unhealthy?
So unhealthy.
So unhealthy.
It doesn't make sense.
Like, I can literally go on like a sale and get like 5 burgers at Burger King for like $7.
And feed a whole family.
And everybody's eating, but God forbid if I want a goddamn salad, it's $15.
That's amazing.
And it goes bad. Like, if you don't sell it, it's gonna go bad. So why are y'all making it so expensive?
You know how many packets of salad I've thrown out, and I'd be like, I spent a lot.
All the time.
A lot on this.
Because it goes bad so quickly. I really feel like there should be a reverse way of getting people to eat healthy.
So, I'm from Lawrence, Massachusetts, but I grew up mostly here in Broward County. But I would say, I mean, listen, I live now in a city in Seattle, and I love my gated community suburbs. And I get it. I get why your parents move you there. I get it, the whole feel, to be able to be like, I'm going to go to a Marshall's. It's close by. Like, those little things, you just be like, I just want my shopping plaza with my supermarket. That should just, like, make sense after a while.
It does make sense. I agree with that.
The whole shit just makes sense. So, no, but I grew up in Coral Springs. Middle class family. That's what Coral Springs is, right?
It is, yeah.
And parents aren't well-to-do. They're hard-ass working people. My parents worked super weekends, hustle super hard, flea market, the whole 9, boat shows, all that stuff, things like that. So that's where I grew up, kind of, Joe.
I am originally from the Bronx, and I grew up and was raised there. And I went to high school in Washington Heights, New York. Shout out to Washington Heights.
And all the hookah spots.
And all the Dominicans, you know. And I want to say that I really appreciate going to high school in Washington Heights because it kind of gave me a very good education system of Latinos in America. You know, because it's like I went to a 98% predominantly Dominican high school.
That's amazing.
I know, and people love it. Every time people hear it, they're like, damn, I wish I went to a 98% high school. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I get it, and and it's dope, and it's like, I feel like being in that environment, being that most of us were first generation Dominicans, you know what I mean? It's like, you kind of have a different level of understanding amongst one another, because it's like, you kind of get that your mom is not going to let you sleep over at your friend's house because ain't no Dominican mom going to be all right with
And
you.
where I grew up, people didn't understand why you couldn't sleep over at your friend's house.
Exactly. So it's just like we just have a different culture, so there was a comfort in that. And I think it also allowed me to be a very big fan of my cultural music. It made me a very big fan of my food and my race because everywhere I went was a Dominican establishment because I was going to high school in a place that was predominantly Dominican. So I am very grateful to that. So shout out to Mother Cabrini High School and all the ladies that I'm still very cool with. And for those of you who don't know, I went to an all-girl Catholic school. And I used to wear a uniform in knee-highs and plaid skirts and it will be cold outside and I wasn't allowed to wear stockings until a certain time of year. And I just came from a very traditional environment, and because of that, I'm a better professional. And for those of you who are struggling on whether or not to put your child inside of a school that has that level of strict structure, I'm an advocate with it because I think that it works. I eventually ended up migrating to South Florida, like most New Yorkers, and coming
All
down.
New Yorkers.
This is the sixth borough, by the way.
Yeah.
It was a good fit for me.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't like it. A lot of up
It
north.
takes time.
It takes time. A lot of up north people have a hard time.
But then when you talk to people who've moved here from up north, they kind of say like, "Oh, I wouldn't move back."
True. It's hard to go back.
You ask people now, they'll be like, "I wouldn't move back." And I think for myself, I'd be like, "It's not like I wouldn't move back up north either." It's just it's a big transition.
I would have to have a lot of money to live there full time.
It's a whole different lifestyle that I need to have. It's a whole different lifestyle that I need
because
to have.
if we're talking numbers, if you over here like, making $65,000 a year in a big city like in an up north city, you're gonna be living most likely in a 2-bedroom apartment in a regular neighborhood, mm-hmm. but with $65,000 a year in South Florida, depending on if you keep it humble, you can have a pretty nice
decent lifestyle.
So it's like sometimes you start to ask yourself, do I want beaches, sunshine, and a nice apartment with my car being parked in a designated spot, or do I want to struggle and not be able to park my car at night?
Or not have a car anymore.
Or not have a car at night at all of any kind and have to deal with living in the city. So it just comes down to preferences.
Yeah. I am my mother's child. In some cases, I think I fare more of both of my parents. They like my dad's a super hard worker, hustler. He's not a traditional working kind of person. It's not for him, not his thing. And then my mom is a traditional working person who needs to be in a cubicle office and like needs to know that it is what it is. So I have a mix. I have a mix of both because I want to be secure and like this like 9 to 5-ish. And that at the same time, I just want to be free and leave at 3:00 freely because I want to and be, do what I want to do, extra things, or do my podcast, spend my time on that, spending more time on that. So I think I favor more of a little bit of balance of each one of them when it comes to like my creativity and what I want to do and like my work lifestyle and things like that.
That's really interesting because it's similar to me too because my dad is more of the free spirit. Mm-hmm. Like my dad is more of the hippie. He's more of the guy that sees someone and goes, you know what? That could be $1 million idea.
Yeah, that's what my dad is.
And
must be Dominican men because they don't really want to work for nobody. Because my dad wants to work for himself. It's his own businesses. He's always had his own businesses, his own license, his own blah blah blah, and that. And I think it's a.
It could be. It could be a Caribbean thing too.
It's a Caribbean thing of just wanting to be for yourself.
And then it also could be that Latino women are like, we gotta hold down the house.
Yeah.
So it's like they need security and stability and they need the house to be like on point. So it could be that. And we don't even realize that we're just a product of our culture. But it's just that my dad was always the creative and he was always the one that was artistic and the one that loves music and like took me to go see Fania All Stars and took me to go see the Gran Combo and like my dad's always been that guy. Very cool. He's like my dad is like the coolest old guy you've ever met. Like, very cool. So that's my dad, and then my mom is just like one of those women that like she knows how to own the room. And I got that from her. And like she knows how to kind of just show everybody her smile and everybody's just like, wow. Like my mom is that girl. She's always been that girl. She's always been very pretty, very beautiful, very, very intelligent.
We might have the similar parents.
You see what I'm saying?
My mom is very like, did pageant stuff, very like, enters a room and like everyone's like super excited that she entered. And I'd be like, what?
Like an energy just got here.
Yeah, and I'd be like, and I look at her and be like, what did you do?
Right.
And she'd be like,
Right, but then you can't deny that we got a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Like if you raise me and you're my example.
Exactly.
Like this is what it is, and it comes to you in a very natural way.
Yeah.
So it's just like because of the fact that I had such a great dynamic, I feel like it created me, just like it created you. Because it's like, when you have these two extremes, it kind of makes a really nice combination.
My dad is the very cool factor that people get, he's like, everyone's like, your dad's so quiet and super chill and super like into his thing. And then my mom's like super hyped.
Oh my God, we have the same parents.
And she just bounces around. And people be like, how do you? Yeah. And he goes,
no, but that's,
it is what it is. Like, he's like, what do you want?
Isn't that the formula of being
opposites attract, kind of like, yeah.
Opposites attract, you got to be a yin and a yang. You have to balance each other out. And I mean, I wouldn't have chosen any other parents if I had a choice.
I love mine too.
Yeah. Okay. The podcast originated.
It's your story to tell.
The podcast originated, for those of you who have been listening since day one. As you know, it originated from a personal story of mine. The funny thing is that me and Marley, since we've known each other for years, we've always had a friendship. Then we've always had the similarity between us is that we've always been very ambitious to do more, and we've always wanted to, be a part of creating something. So we have that in common, and when you have that in common, it's a lot easier to have these type of conversations, because if you speak to a person that's not a creative or a person that's not a risk taker, it's harder to kind of express your ideas to. But the comfort that we had is that we kind of had that in common, that is like, we could talk about outlandish ideas, and like, she'll be like, yeah, but if you add this to it, it'll be better. So it's like, we know how to build. And like, we always had that, even in our friendship, even when we went on vacations together, like we've been on trips and stuff. So it's like, yo, but when we go there, we should do this when we're there. You know what I mean? So it's always like just stepping it up. And it's really awesome to have those type of dynamics in a friendship. So we always wanted to create something. To make a long story short, I went on a tangent on Snapchat, and it was just because I had went through a situation where a guy disrespected me and started fucking with my homegirl. So I went on Snapchat and I went on a venting spree. And when I went on that venting spree, I recorded it, and I got so much reactions that I was like, wow, people actually like me talking about shit that's not nice. Like, you always want to look perfect online. But now I spoke about a moment that I was vulnerable, and I felt like I was disrespected, and I was having a moment, and I got very Dominican with it and very Bronx with it, and I was like cursing. I was like, fuck this bitch, wait till I catch her. So it was just like, just having that natural reaction. And then I was just like, I hope everybody has a messy motherfucking Monday. I don't know what the fuck I said.
You said something. I have it saved somewhere.
So this young lady hits me up and she goes, this is the podcast.
Yeah.
This is it. This is what we gotta do. We gotta talk about this type of shit. Let's do this shit. And then we just made it happen. Literally. Episode 1 is me telling the story, me telling that Marley saw the video, and me saying everything, and people liked it.
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, I got a DM, yo, let me tell you what this motherfucker did. And then people just started sending us stories, and people started telling us stuff, and it was like, you know what, cool. But now we got to the point that it's like the messy subjects aren't only about infidelity.
Yeah, the messy subjects can be anything in like your personal part, your business things, your kind of push and pull to get to where you are and what you're doing, and what kind of trials and tribulations you went through to get to where you are. We've transitioned a lot into not only just the pop culture part, but also like artists and up and coming and influencers and people who are creatives, and they just kind of tell their messy stories that happen within those realms as well. Like even in traditional work forms and things like that. So.
Right, because we all learn from the mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, the one thing that no one can teach you is the lessons that you get whatever you fail. So in my opinion, I think one of the things that's so special about our podcast is that people are telling you how great they are, but they're also telling you, yo, but like someone did me dirty.
Yeah.
And when that person did me dirty, that taught me I should never do anything without signing a contract now. So it's like, that is messy. I may come from an environment where, I'm a lesbian, and because I'm a lesbian, I'm having a hard time with having a relationship with a girl that hasn't come out the closet. That's a subject that can resonate with a lot of our listeners, and we had that already in our podcast. And we had somebody share a story about dating a person that hasn't come out the closet. That's messy. It's not messy to us because we're comfortable with that conversation.
It's messy within there.
It's messy within society. So messy isn't always just that we gossiping. It's just,
but is our favorite part though.
it is awesome. It's fun, but it's not limited to that. Yeah. And I think that's what I like the most about what we've
developed and what we've created.
Yeah.
I do too. 46 episodes in.
46. Yeah. Was it messy to begin? The podcast? Was the podcast messy in the sense of the process and just jumping into it?
A little. Because we didn't know what we were doing. And like, I've never done it before. You've never done it before. Figuring out what are the right equipments. We have lost episodes. We have had Bentley snoring in the background the entire time. Yeah. That bulldog has a heavy manly snore.
Yeah.
And it is in there. We've had it super echoing. We've had phone calls drop.
We even had a blogger that had a shitload of followers. So it's one of those guests that you're like, yo, this gotta be on point tonight. Like, we gotta get this bitch to repost.
Shit didn't work.
The fucking audio came out terrible.
Yeah.
It happens.
And we know that's gonna happen because we are so far from each other. Again, I live in Seattle. You live here in Miami. So we're distance is a lot, 3,000 miles almost. And then 3-hour difference at the same time. And then when we have these hosts, they're not even near either one of us.
Some of them be in Chicago, some of them be in San Francisco, some of them be in Texas. So it's like we have to also depend on everybody's Wi-Fi.
And everyone else's Wi-Fi, our own personal Wi-Fi, and everyone's time in their timely manner. And then there might be people also that just like talk too much that we don't know how to stop them from talking when they continue on. So it has this thing, but we've caught on to kind of give each other looks because we video FaceTime or Google Hangout when we're doing it. And so we'll give each other the look to be like, can you please figure out how to wrap this person up? Like one of us will go in for it.
Right.
But the messy part was just figuring out the production part, me learning how to edit, you learning how to edit, using GarageBand, just all the pieces that are needed for it. And we learn something new every day. The process is not perfect whatsoever. But we've learned something new maybe every week. And I always be like, how about we use this instead? And you'll be like, are you sure?
Right.
Is it going to fail? And I'd be like, I don't know. I've never done it before.
Or like that one time that you said, let's go on YouTube Live. I'm like, girl.
Nobody was ready.
It is 11 p.m. on a Sunday. And I look terrible. And I am not going on YouTube Live right now. She's like, let's just try. Thank God everybody was sleeping. But it was just like, girl, we are not ready. But it's just part of us trying stuff and making sure to see if it's going to be
trial and error.
Yeah.
Trial and error. That's all it is. So, yeah, it was messy to begin with. And it continues to have its little...
And it will continue. But you want to know something? I think that the one thing I'm the most proud of, I don't know how many followers we are right now. The 410 followers that we have, I think that's what we are right now. Of legit organic following. That means more to me than numbers that don't make sense.
That don't add up. Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
It makes sense to me. I'd rather it be organic and not these 450 people that like us and that are subscribed to us and are really listening and love us, let's say on Instagram, you really are messing with us.
Yeah.
You feel me?
You're legitimately
It's legitimate because you guys know how rough it was those first couple of episodes.
That first two episodes that they had.
Yeah, it was rough and like you guys stuck through it and you guys are still riding with us. So that's dope.
So I think we have figured it out because we've only done like 40 something, maybe 50. We figured it out how to just do it on a whim. But initially it takes some preparation, reading about whoever the guest is, or if a messy or something happens like in pop culture and I like it, I'll send it off and kind of get more in-depth detail about it. And we try to communicate with each other throughout the week. Time difference makes a big deal. I wake up at 7 in the morning or 6 in the morning to like a bunch of text messages. Be like, did she realize that I've been asleep the whole time?
Right, because I have morning inspiration sometimes. And I know you're sleeping. I don't care.
I wake up with like...
And I'm just like, I have a fucking idea. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's make this shit happen. I have 7 people that want to fuck with us right now. Let's do this. So it's like, yeah, it is. And it's like, I know that she's not going to respond right away. But the fact is that it's better for me to tell you right now
than later.
Because I might lose this gold.
And I've returned the work though, like at 1 a.m. my time, and it'd be like 4 for her, and she'd be like, for real. But it'd be like, oh, I just got back from out. I've been, blah blah blah. So, that has made preparation. We've kind of figured out. We know each other's time clock a little bit, in a sense. Depending on, I guess, what our personal work life, professional work looks like, it depends on how we were able to prepare in certain things.
I think that in any partnership, in any situation, communication is key. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the best things that we've been able to do in this partnership is that we've been able to respect each other's time. So, for instance, you had to go to Amsterdam for a little while. Mm-hmm. You had to go to New York because of your actual job that gives you income. And, let's say I had to go see my family or go on vacation or whatever the case may be. That week, we have to cater to that necessity because ultimately this is our baby and this is our business. So we want to run it the way we want to.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And it's like, no one can take that away from us.
No. We even recorded while I was in Canada.
Right.
We had one episode I was in Canada. So we did that. I mean, it's just, communication is key and just making sure to balance it out too. And so we do have moments too where we're not in the mood for it because it takes a lot of energy from you to have speaking. And you have to be in a speaking mode. And I know not everyone has the option to do that, but you have to be, if you want to be there, if you want to be into it and you want the conversation to be genuine and stuff, we know it to be like, hey, you know what? This is not my week. Or the week has been really shitty and I can't do it today.
Right.
And I don't have a voice. Like, we have those situations that occur.
Or you could just be sick.
Yeah.
And when you work with your voice has to be at a certain caliber. Excuse me for being a little raspy today, but we actually did a recording prior to this. Mm-hmm. And we have things going on throughout the day, and I've been recording a lot these past couple of days, so my voice is a little strained. But those are factors that play into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, you want to still distribute the same level of enthusiasm, the same level of energy, especially since we drop on Mondays. People usually listen to us to start their work week. And it's not fair to our listeners for us to be sleepy and lazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's why we're like, I can't do it today. I'd be like, I really just can't, not today.
Right.
And we don't mind dropping later.
Right. Sometimes it happens, and you know what? That's the flexibility of creating your own craft and doing your own thing. I mean, I'm very proud of the fact that we've been extremely consistent, even though we may have not dropped every single week and we took some breaks during the winter. No one can fuck with our consistency. And it's like, I feel like that is major key, and we are determined to perfect our craft, and we're going to continue to get better with time. And it's getting to the point that people are now starting to reach out to us, and that is a great demonstration of a lot of hard work
that shows the hard work.
It shows the hard work.
That's much better.
Absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, we're prepping an hour before, and it
30
happens.
minutes.
That happens.
Yeah.
We try whenever we have a guest to not do that to our guests, because we want to be able to speak to your contributions to,
and be authentic about it.
Absolutely. And we don't want to just fake it. So we do try to put a little more energy into our guests, but sometimes, guys, right before we hit record, we like, yo, what are we going to talk about tonight? You know what I'm saying? So it happens.
Some of the good ones, though, is when you just make it on the whim. Those are my favorites. When we have nothing, but
some of my favorite episodes are the ones that is just me and you talking.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
Those are one of my favorites, too. You know I love my pop culture foolishness, and we can dive deep into that. So those are some of the favorite ones, just going for it. It's just us, and that's it. So.
Right.
What are some of the titles of those podcasts? So.
Bad question. I don't know. I can't think of
what?
names.
Most recently, I really enjoyed Mom Was Right.
Yeah, that was fun.
I thought Mom Was Right was good, because we kind of said things that motivate us. You know what I'm saying? Which is pretty cool, and I feel like people like to hear things that are inspiring. So I like that. I try to always listen like a listener, not like the podcast.
Yeah.
You know?
And then there was one, because I live in Seattle, I've enjoyed the time that I've had my friends on there.
Yeah.
Because I've met really good people. And so both the one with Just a Little Zen, because I just love that name, And then the other one with Jasmine Roche has
Jasmine
been
Roche
awesome.
was a good episode too.
Was really, really good. Because I got to learn my friends more. And then my friend from Miami got to meet my friends in Seattle. Like, everyone got to, like, have conversations. And then everyone realized you have really good... Like, it's weird. It's scary when you bring on a friend to meet another friend.
You know what? You triggered one. Old episode, Spaghetti Lesbians.
Spaghetti Lesbians
was a great episode.
Because we learned some random ass shit on there.
We learned a lot of random shit, and it was kind of like, it was fun. It was just like a conversation that
And that's like episode like 4.
And it was like outside of our comfort zone. And
completely.
It was a really good conversation, and like it was...
Wow, I forgot about that one.
It was, you know, a girl from Miami just putting us on, basically. You know what I'm saying? So that was a good episode too.
That one's a good one, so.
I'm a creative is... For you?
A person who can see more than what's in front of them.
And then Marley, creative for you?
A person with, I think equally the same, is a person with skill sets and abilities to make something out of nothing. And to see a vision of something grander than what it is.
But when does... That sounds like more of an entrepreneur, does it not?
It has a little bit of entrepreneurial spirit, but I guess because I'm surrounded by so many creatives, including graphic designers and, you know, people who are legit down to the nitty gritty, writers, those kind of creatives, right? And artists and things like that. Their vision and their sight of things is completely turn left key than what you naturally will see in something else. And so, but they have a little hustle to them too, because they can take the plant here and expand it into something grander and bigger than what it already have there. They know how to make it pop out better or make it be more than what it is. So I think that's how I see it.
No,
so they're equally the same.
No, it's interesting because both of you said that the creative is usually dealing in an artistic field. But do you think that a person working in a corporate environment can be creative?
Yeah, that's where I do. So I definitely think so. I don't think all creative is free willing, because you have advertisements and things like that. That is part of the creative portion. It's being creative in how you're going to tap your consumers, how you're going to grab the attention of others, so that's part of the creative, and also the data driven portions of it. But it's being able to make profit of it too in some sort of way.
I think that is definitely challenging for a creative to work in a corporate environment.
It's more difficult.
It is challenging, not because you don't have the skill set, but because you have to deal with limitations.
Yes.
And when you work in those environments, it kind of feels like I can make this even better.
But I'm not going to put all the work into putting it better.
But they may not be ready.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or the consumer may not be ready. Or my articulation for this is not prepared for this corporate, safe, politically correct realm. So it's like you have so many moving parts that have to do with corporate America that it's like, is it even creative anymore? You know? Because it's creative with all these subcategories / making sure that it makes everyone happy / is it going to be profitable / what demographic is watching at this time / I don't want to get sued. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's so many layers to it, which is amazing because I'm a numbers girl and I'm a money girl, and I'm down with using your audience to your benefit and making sure to do direct marketing to the people who are going to consume your product. I get that, but it's hard to say that there's ever going to be a complete balance where you can be 100% creative and be corporate. I don't think it's possible.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so my definition of a creative is someone who blends in art and science together. Because at the end of the day, we're not creating something new, but we're having self-discovery of who we are. Because most things that we find in the creative field is that it's self-discovery. Because if everything is just a copy, like you're not reinventing the wheel, right? And because of that, it's more about self-discovery. I didn't know I was capable of doing such a thing
until I started doing it. Yeah.
So for me, and for me, being a creative, the corporate terminology that I use is I'm a multimedia specialist. Because people seem to understand that. Oh, you're multimedia. Okay, cool. You dive into other spectrums of creativity. You do a little bit of graphics, you do a little bit of photo, you do a little bit of video. Now, what you said was really interesting because you said that what makes you think that the creativity that you use is perfect for the time that it was created. How do you expand upon that? Because it's like if you're too, as a creative, if you're too ahead of the time when you're creating something, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It depends on the subject matter in some situations, and it's like even people like, let's say the Kanyes of this world. Kanye has always been talking about 10 years ahead of us, or 20 years, or 30. That's how he communicates. So when he speaks, it gets lost in translation a lot of times because he's always so ahead of the game according to his interpretation.
Because he's seeing it further out than in the now.
Right.
He's thinking about the future.
Sometimes you say to yourself, is Kanye a genius? Or is Kanye just talking shit?
He's a mix of a madman who is a genius at the same time of that. But I think creatives are also people who need those external outlets. They need something. And they need to see like a sort of finalized piece of something to know that they've accomplished that. And so I think that's what makes the podcast fun. To be like, oh, the episode's up. Go. Like, it's there. We've made it out there. So it has like, also you have to have this sort of a little happy ending or some sort of ending because it went live, because it went real and it becomes tangible or something of that sort.
So if a project goes bad, and when I mean bad is that it's still usable. Do you still publish it?
On a corporate end?
Or should the creative publish it?
On a corporate end, nothing ever goes out if it's not right or good or correct.
Yeah.
On a personal end, it's really a dilemma.
We've definitely put things out that were not to our standards.
Yeah.
It has happened.
Yeah.
It has happened. I can admit that.
Oh, yeah.
And I won't say that out loud because we can't do that, but I can name a lot more times than I'm comfortable with admitting that.
Yeah.
If the circumstances were different, this would not be.
Wouldn't be what we wanted or how or something like that. But it comes to a circumstance of like we have it, and
there was still good content in there.
It's still content, but it's not the best.
Because
the content was good, not the.
At this point, I feel like a lot of times, this is what I can say about people who are doing their own thing. Like, you're so worried about how people are going to perceive or receive the information that you never put anything out. Because you have this obsession with perfection that's impossible. So at times, you kind of limit yourself from exposure. And at times, I've learned that there's even been episodes that we've created that we may not have thought they were going to resonate. But then I look at the charts and we look at our stats and we look at our own ways of monitoring what we do. And we're like, wow, this episode actually got more recognition than the one that came out flawlessly. And it's like, there's an element to our fan base that is kind of like, people just kind of want to like get to know us and they like what we represent. So like, they know that it may be a bad episode, but you know what? We don't have $1 million production company and we don't have people backing us with professional sound engineer technical work and we don't have a studio that we go record at. We are literally hustling from the ground up, and sometimes people might appreciate that. You know what I mean? So that could be it. And then maybe you guys are listening and you're saying, you know what? These girls are dope and I want to start doing it for you professionally. Amazing. But the point is that we are just being humble and realistic and saying, you know, we don't have all this money to have all this equipment to make it perfect, but because we believe in our craft and we believe that our information was good enough for you to at least know the message that we're trying to deliver, we'll put it out.
Yeah. Agreed.
Nice. Oh, man. So many wonderful questions. This drink got me lit. Now,
how much vodka you gave him?
Right. Now we fucking up.
No, so here's really one important question that I'd like to end my show with. Well, here's one really important question. Should I start? What would you say to someone if they wanted to start a podcast? And what would you say to someone before they started a podcast?
So, yes, start the podcast. I think you should start anything you really want to start. Like if you know you want to start painting, just start painting. I do that myself. I don't know how to paint. I'm a terrible drawer. I had art class because it was pressured on me. I can't draw for anything, but I enjoy painting. So I do it because I enjoy doing it. So I started. So I say yes to starting a podcast. And what was the second question? Oh, and what you should do before starting? Do your research. Be actually a lover of the craft of podcasting or enjoy podcasts. I mean, I have probably over 25, 30 podcasts that are saved on a regular on my phone that I legitimately listen to. That today I spent 3 hours listening to one podcast because it had a 3-hour episode and it was worth listening to. And I made sure to figure out all day how am I going to listen to that. I have everything mixed from political podcasts to storytelling to one called Drug, Sex, and Money. I had like every ranges of life and things like that, pop culture, whatever. And the reason why I wanted to do a podcast is because I enjoyed and loved so much podcasts. Because I knew the beginning routes of a lot of them. And it wasn't a monetary thing. It was because I actually really enjoy the area that is podcasting, radio, and those kind of things. So my one suggestion before starting this is doing your research and to understand how podcasts function. Because it's a lot of things. It's not just, yes, we do have the gift of gab and just talking and things like that, but there's a structure to things. And there's a layout to things of how they work. So that is major key and super important, I believe.
Yeah. I also, I agree with what you said. And I think that another major key with podcasting is I think you should listen to a different variety of podcasts before you record your own. Because people think that people want distractions and noises and music and theme songs and distractions. Not really. The podcast listener wants to listen to you and they want to listen to the dialect and the conversation. One of the biggest feedbacks that I've gotten from our podcast is that I feel like I'm talking to my homegirls. I feel like I'm having a conversation with my friends. I feel like when I'm cleaning in my house and I'm cooking, you know what I'm saying? I don't have to listen to my kids. Like I'm having an adult conversation because it's in my ears. And when I'm driving to work in the morning or I'm driving home in traffic, it's like I'm laughing and I'm having a good time and it's just a conversation. And it took me time to get there. Because even myself, like I'm one of those people that I'm always playing music. I'm always playing music. I work with music. I work at my job with music. I create things in music, and because I'm obsessed with music. So it's like I thought that the listener will want to have music while I'm speaking. And I came to the realization that the listener really just wants to hear the conversation. And I think that I wouldn't have learned that unless I would have taken the time to listen to podcasts. And I think that that's my biggest advice. Listen to other podcasts and understand this culture. This is not a radio show. And this is also not an audiobook.
And there's people who have been doing this for like 10, 15 years.
Right.
There are some major podcasts out there that millions of people listen to. There are super popular ones out there that may not be your cup of tea, but they were like on it. But since Apple's had that iPod, a podcast app on your phone when you got your phone.
Which comes automatically, by the way.
Always comes automatically. And there's people who have been there for several years and have 1 point something, 2 point something listeners a weekly basis.
Right.
So it's not like, people just putting up audio and having things. Like this is something that's happened. So that's why doing your research and listening to what is out there is major important.
And a little gem, you guys have to be on iTunes. Your podcast is not a podcast unless it's on iTunes.
Yeah.
You have to, for those of you who do not use Apple and refuse and think that we're the devil, like, it's not even about that. You can use iTunes even if you don't have an Apple phone. So you have to be on iTunes for sure. And also, guys, remember that podcasting became a great success when the documentary style started coming into play. I would say reporting real information and having those behind the scenes conversations was what made podcasting what it is today. For those of you who follow the hip hop culture, Joe Budden's being unfiltered and being kind of arrogant is what's made the Joe Budden podcast what it is today. And what that means is that it's giving you a different perspective on a conversation that everybody's having. So if you want to start your own thing, you have to keep that in mind. Like, make sure to have a perspective on something. Don't just think that because you're throwing shit against the wall that is going to stick. It doesn't work like that. You have to have perspective and
actual content.
And content of some kind. Whatever your niche is, if you want to talk about, farming, and that's your thing, that's your thing.
There's one for them.
And there's a community of, don't they have a dating app for farmers?
But I'm sure there's a podcast for them.
You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like, just figure that out for yourself and be honest to that. And also, guys, at the end of the day, it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of dedication to something that you're not getting paid for, and then you're still doing it. So you have to be aware that you're doing it for the love of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And, like, that's really awesome. And, like, I feel like even if I pop and I become a bajillionaire, I don't think I'll ever stop podcasting.
Yeah, me neither. I
enjoy it.
And I won't stop ever listening to podcasts. I'm obsessed. People think every time I've introduced people to podcasting, they'd be like, why would I listen to the, and I'm like, okay. And then people realize that they were missing out the whole time because shit is happening, and be like, it was all on the podcast though. Like, everybody's been talking about it. You're the only one who hasn't been talking about it, and everyone's been sick. I become more informed also through podcasts.
Right.
And I'm an NPR nerd anyways for years. So I listen to NPR in the drive as it is.
Because there's no pressure of meeting a standard or feeling that you have to fill some type of a quota or do some type of a political agenda. This is something that you are putting out your own content. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Be prepared. Just like the first time I ever worked on radio, they told me, remember, once you say it, you cannot take it back.
You can't take it back. It's
so think about that, guys. Because once you say it, you cannot take it back.
Nope.
Okay, so speaking about podcasts with passion, how can people find your podcast?
Wow. We have the privilege, the honor, and the excitement to say that we're on multiple platforms. We are actually on the major ones. We're on iTunes. We are on Spotify. We are on iHeartRadio. We are on SoundCloud. We are on Google Play. We are on YouTube. You can Google us at Messy Mondays Podcast, and you'll be able to find our website. Mm-hmm. You'll be able to find all of our links through there. You can look us up on Instagram at Messy Mondays Podcast. You can look it up on Twitter at Messy Mondays Pod. Mm-hmm. You can look us up on Facebook and like us on Messy Mondays Podcast. Mm-hmm. And anything I'm missing?
Every platform, I think, it's just all there.
Right.
You can find us, just Google it, and it'll all come up, all the options, but yeah.
Right. And you can follow myself at Shomi_ENT. That is my name on Instagram as well as Twitter.
And you can follow me at LUV Marley _. And that is now on Twitter and also Instagram. And yeah, that's where you can follow.